If you are an investor, a potential investor, are just a huge fan of Tesla, you're aware that there are multiple opportunities that Elon Musk has laid out before us and created for us that are earth-shattering. And many of those will soon be creating even more Teslanaires and maybe even Tesla billionaires, whatever those are going to be called, just from the autos, from the trucks, from the robotaxis, from Dojo, from energy storage, and so much more. And they're going to be worth hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in the not too distant future. However, they all pale in comparison to Optimus. It's not even close. Therefore, I really wanted to clear up some confusion, a lot of confusion about Optimus. I want to take this video to do that. We'll take a look at what Optimus will and won't be able to do, and then we'll take a look at what it's likely to sell for. We'll take a look at what the possible numbers might look like in terms of production. We'll take a look at how much revenue that will generate. We'll also, and what the income might be from that. And then we'll also take a look at when all of this might take place, including what are the limiting factors keeping it from taking place next Thursday. and then what are some of the bottlenecks, all right? Now, notice I said when it will take place. Sure, things can go wrong, but I'm pretty sure that we now have a timeline. This is Randy Kirk. This is going to be one of these shows where I'm begging you to comment. I'm begging you to give me the questions. Don't say, yeah, Randy, you're wrong. No, Randy, you're wrong, and here's where you're wrong. Here's some details. Here's what I think I need more explanation before I'm going to believe what you're telling me is true. Give me some thorough, thoughtful questions, thoughtful comments so that I can respond to them. As you know, I try to respond to all of them. If they are thoughtful, then I try to write out a full-on response as much as possible. Sometimes it's just too much. And of course, later on, I could do another video where I would respond to all of the questions that were meaningful. All right, let's hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify. This week, of course, is Fed Week. You're going to want to see every video that I put up this week because we're all going to be wondering what happens on Wednesday. And then join Patreon. I'm now putting up unique content. I just put up, I think, 5 different spreadsheets yesterday showing the future earnings of each of the 5 major aspects of Tesla. Those are all now up on Patreon. It's free for 7 days. So if you want to go take a look at those spreadsheets and then not join, that's fine, but it's only $5 a month. Okay, let's get into it. All right. Number 1, the Optimus will initially be capable of simple tasks in factories and warehouse operations. Things such as pick and pack, pick it up, take it over, put it in a pack. Moving objects from one location to another. They've already shown this where you pick up a piece of metal, you take it over and you put it into a tray where another robot or a human or somebody else is going to take that and then do some kind of operation to it. Manual operations on the line. Something comes by, you do something to that thing and it just goes on and passes by, but also watching operations. As a blow molder, maybe you'll be able to picture this, maybe not, but when I did bicycle water bottles, we had blow molding equipment, and basically what the operator did was sit there in front of the machine and watch the blow molder open and close and the bottles pop out, and that's what the operator did 90% of the time, and just making sure that everything was going well. So there's a lot of operations like that in factories and in distribution that these robots will be able to do. And then QC, which I kind of suggested that in that, but again, QC, you're printing something and you want somebody to be able to watch, pick one up from time to time, look at it, put it back down, and make sure that the quality control is there. And they should be able to, with computers, do better quality control by far than a human could do, or even a stationary camera. All right, that's phase 1. There are millions and millions of jobs in this phase 1. I mean, tens of millions of jobs just in the United States that the Optimus at phase 1 will be able to do. Second phase. Well, I'm, of course, the Optimus optimist, and I'm very optimistic that Optimus will be able to do many of these second phase tasks in the very short term. This would include manipulation of tools, drill motors, screwdrivers, whatever, insertion or attachment of parts, taking two parts, putting them together, screw them together, whatever, two-handed work like taking my bottle and putting a cap on it, sorting, taping finished boxes, using a hand truck, and other more complex tasks. These will add more tens of millions of jobs just in the United States, much less around the world. It'll be tens and tens of millions of people that could be replaced with the robot in these circumstances. The third phase, that might take another year or two, but it would be jobs that are not in factories, but are in more complex settings. That'll be the major changes. Instead of having a flat floor, concrete floor, someplace where everything sits in exactly the same place every single day, now you get into outdoor circumstances or situations that are like construction where things are changing. That wall wasn't there yesterday and now it is. And there's people moving around that are moving differently every single day. Equipment that's moving in and out that is not there every single day. So the more complex the environment, the more difficult it will be for Optimus to do. Now with FSD, we'll talk about this, with FSD and with Dojo, maybe this is solved a lot faster, but for now, I'm going to assume a couple more years. But that would be things like construction and mining and other similar kinds of things. Phase 4, I'm going to say maybe this could be 3, 4, 5 years. This is everything else. So able to manage any new or complex situation, walk into a house, walk into a nursing home, walk into a hospital, never been there before, be able to scope out the room, not run into people, not run into objects, be able to move through activities, talk to people as they go, and then go and have the task fed into the computer. Where do I need to go? Room number 303, where I need to go in and help grandma get out of bed and into a chair. This is probably 3 to 5 years out. I don't know. It might be a lot faster with FSD, but we'll just find out. But that's the fourth phase. And then maybe I'll finally get the robot that can come and give me that back rub that I've been talking about for so long. Okay. So I consider those the 4 phases of how Optimus will work in the real world and be able to do useful tasks. Help me out. Are there more levels that I'm not taking into consideration? Do you think that these are way more than that in terms of how long it'll take them to be able to do these tasks? But remember, put the why. Give me the detail. What did I miss? Why is it going to be so much harder? Okay. Number 2. Or number B or whatever. This is the next subject matter. How much will Optimus cost? Okay, we've reviewed this on my channel over and over again. I've done tons and tons of research on this. The experts that I've had on my channel, everything that I can see, everything that I can think of as a manufacturer, it is impossible for us to imagine that the Optimus will cost more than $10,000 to build. That includes the chip, that includes all the motors, that includes all the actuators, that includes everything. And probably in production, it's more like $5,000 to $6,000 and maybe even less. But at these numbers, it's really inconsequential. If it's under 10,000, if it's 6,000 or 5,000, it really doesn't matter because the value of it is so many more times that. So, but for now, we'll just assume that the information we have is right, that we've been able to analyze this well. And, you've probably heard Scott Wolter on here, and he went out and actually looked online to see how much the motors would cost and the actuators, and that would be buying them retail. So we think it's under 10 and probably closer to 6. As noted in multiple videos, the bot will generally be worth at least 4 employees. That's if a company has 4 shifts. Now, a company doesn't have 4 shifts. It isn't worth 4 employees. It can only work the number of hours that the company is open. But if a company has 4 shifts, that would put the value of the bot at least $200,000 a year. Okay, if it's going to replace 4 employees, it's worth at least $200,000 a year. Not $200,000, I'll buy it and now I own it, $200,000 a year. So what will happen? I don't think Tesla's going to charge $200,000 a year. I don't think they're going to charge $200,000 period. In the early days, I'm expecting Tesla to go out at $50,000 a year as what they're going to charge for this. They could go out for more, and they might have to, because we might get into that flipping situation again, like we did last year with cars, where somebody goes ahead and leases it for $50,000 a year, and they turn right around and lease it to somebody else for $200,000 a year. Therefore, the Tesla shareholders get gypped on the $150,000 of earnings that Tesla could have made. If that happens, I guess they'll just keep raising the price until they get to the level where the production and purchases or leases are in line with one another. But anyway, I'm thinking $50,000 a year of profit, just to give a round number. So if it costs $5,000 to build it, and you've got to write off $1,000 a year of that, and you rent it out for $51,000, now your net profit, maybe it costs another $1,000 for customer service, or maybe $2,000. So maybe you rent it for $53,000 anyway, or lease it. Anyway, so I'm saying they make $50,000 per bot per year profit. And I'm saying that there is no reason in the world why they won't make 1 million of these in 2025. So we'll talk about 2023 and 2024 in a minute, but I'm just saying go out to 2025. If you want to, go out to 2026. I think it'll be way before 2026. Let's say they don't make 1 million of them until 2026, but whatever year that they do that and they make 1 million of them at 50,000 per year of profit, that's $50 billion in profit. And the second year that they do that, that first 50 billion doesn't go away. No, that you get another 50 billion that year. And if you make another million bots, you add another 50 billion. So now in 2027, under the worst case scenario, you're making $100 billion a year profit, which is currently one apple. We'll call that one apple, right? So just the bot in 2027, minimum, will be equaling Apple. And I think it will be dramatically more than that, because if they make 1 million bots the first year, they'll make 2 the second year. Now you're talking about 150 billion in profit. And I don't think it'll take that long to get to those numbers. So let's go back now for a minute. Because making 1 million of these is far easier than making 1 million cars. I mean, on orders of magnitude. I mean, it's probably 10 times easier, maybe even easier than that. Doesn't take up nearly as much space. I think I figured out that they could make 1 million of them in a building. I think I did this this YouTube video earlier. I think it was a 100,000 square foot building. It's not a big building. Okay, so let's just go with 1 million a year, $50 billion a year in profit the first year, second year, it's 100 billion, etc. Think about that. It makes everything else that Tesla is doing seem minor, except that everything else that Tesla is doing, each division equals an apple, or maybe 2 apples. Full self-driving is maybe 3 apples. And this would be 1 apple the second year that they are in full production. And maybe way more than that, maybe 2 apples the second year they're in full production. Okay. As the meme says, now we're talking about real money. All right. So if you believe that I'm right about the above, then you begin to understand the unimaginable implications for stockholders. I'm assuming you are one. I am one. Please understand, I'm a stockholder. This is not investment advice. I'm not suggesting you go out and buy more shares. I'm telling you that I am buying more shares. All right. But the street right now is giving it no value. It is unbelievable to me that a company who could be worth 1 apple in 3 years, just based on Optimus, and they're giving it 0 value. I can't figure it out. I can't get my arms around it. All right, let's go on to the limiting factors. As far as I've been able to understand, after all those hours of research and all the multiple experts that have been on the channel, the only limiting factor is how fast the FSD chip and Dojo can train the bot to do useful tasks. There are 0 limiting factors on building the basic bot. 0. There's nothing. The plastic, the way things hook together, the motors, the actuators. We'll talk about all of this in just a minute. All right. Since the bot will not represent a significant safety issue like a car or truck, the software side of things is far less complex. If I've got to make sure that the car doesn't run into anybody or anything, then my my training and my full self-driving unit has to be a lot more sophisticated, and it can't make any mistakes. But we're not talking about that with the bot. And the car has to be able to go in all of these different environments and deal with all of these different environments, read signs, be able to understand what red and green and blue is, all kinds of things the bot doesn't need to do in order to pick this up and take it over and pack it. Okay, so it's a much, much, much less complex set of circumstances to get it to do useful tasks. And because of over-the-air updates, the same bot will be able to do more and more tasks over time as the complexity of the training improves, and through over-the-air updates, it'll be able to go give me that back rub. All right. So at this point, then, I see no zero limiting factors on building the basic bot and having it do useful tasks. So let's go here. The bot will not represent a I'm sorry. So we also know that there's lots of bots out there that are already doing some of these tasks. You've seen them. I'm sure you have. You've seen the videos. You've seen it on 60 Minutes. You've seen it other places. And they are learning not just from hard coding, although most of them are hard coded, but they're also learning from being hooked up to, a human that's hooked up to wires so that it can duplicate the process that way. It's learning from simulations. It's learning from watching videos. That was the 60-minute version. The FSD chip and the deep learning capabilities of Tesla and now Dojo should make training the bot for level 1 jobs super simple. I mean, I just can't even imagine that it's even complex. Now, there's a full set of things that has to happen, as Scott Walter has pointed out over and over again, and also Dr. Know-It-All, John Gibbs, he's pointed out as well, that when you torque something, there's a reverse action. When you pick up something that you thought was heavier than it is and it's lighter than you thought, there's a response that needs to be taken. So there is some training that has to be taking place. That's kind of general AG training that might take a little longer. I'm not sure exactly how long, but we'll get down to hearing what Elon thinks about that in a minute. So, okay, timing. So I grabbed the transcript from the recent earning call when Elon just laid it right out. And as one commenter on Twitter put it, and this is not the exact, I went and tried to find it again. I couldn't find the exact words, but it was more or less the Optimus bulls, I think he might have actually been really meaning Randy Kirk. The Optimus bulls had their timeline pushed back 6 months, but the Optimus doubters had their timeline pushed up 3 or 4 years as a result of what Elon said. I think that was a great statement. I think that's exactly what happened. So here's how it went. Martin Viecka asks, or has the next question. It says, how many Optimus bots have been made, and when will they be able to start performing useful tasks? I would have liked to have asked, that would have been my question for sure. I think it might have been Scott Walter's question. I'm not sure about that. I should have asked Scott the other day when I have him on the channel, but I think that's the one he put up there. Anyway, so Elon Musk answers 10 million. No, he was kidding. Well, yes, I think there's around 5 or 6 bots. I think, there's, and then somebody says something off camera and he says, well, 10, I guess. It depends on how many are working and what phase, but it's sort of like, yes, but then there's more every month. Let's unpack that for just a second. So there are 5 to 10, we saw 5. There's 5 to 10 bots. They're in various different phases. There's various different iterations. They're walking around, they're doing things. Some of them might be in pieces and being rebuilt in some new iteration. Who knows what all of that could mean? But he also says there's more of them being made every month. So how many more? Who knows? Could it be 5 a month, 10 a month, 20 a month? We don't know. But there's more being added to this crew every single month. As I've repeatedly said, I think they'll make 1,000 this year. I don't know if they'll make 1,000 this year. If at the end of the year they said, we made 100 bots and they're doing useful tasks, I'll take the hit. I'll say, oh, they didn't make 1,000. Scott says he's willing to take the hit. They didn't make 500. That's his guess. I really don't care. The point I was trying to make by saying they'll make 1,000 bots is they will have the capability. So yes, if they make 100 bots, they could have made 1,000. It's not really a matter of money or of time or of anything else. If they make 100, they could have made 1,000. If they're making if they've made 10 and they are going to be making more every month, they can make 1,000 if they chose to. All right. So then he goes on. There's a lot of interesting things about the Optimus bot. We found that there are actually no suppliers that can produce actuators. There are no off-the-shelf actuators that work well for a humanoid robot at any price. By the way, some of you may not know what an actuator is. I went back and had to think about what is an actuator. So, okay, you got a motor, but the motor doesn't usually do the action, right? I mean, you have an axle on the motor. The axle might directly turn something, but usually not. Usually the axle is actually got maybe a gear on it, and the gear is turning another gear, which is making the car or whatever it is go forward. But the motor might also turn something else or interact with something else that causes something to go up or down, or causes something to go in and out. It doesn't have to be round and round. So whatever that is, that's your actuator. And some of these are extremely complex, and sometimes they don't have to be lightweight or easy to make, because maybe you only need 3 of them or 10 of them, or maybe it just doesn't matter how much they weigh. So, but for the purposes of the Optimus robot, what they found was there are no off-the-shelf actuators that work well for the humanoid robot. So then somebody in the background, unidentified, said, certainly not compelling. So Elon Musk said, yes, there's not a humanoid robot that can do the things that humans could do. So we actually had to design our own actuators that integrate the motor or the power electronics, the controller and the sensors. Then really, every one of them is custom designed. And then, of course, we'll be using the same inference hardware as the car. So in other words, he doesn't say, as some have tried to say, that the Optimus is not even yet doing useful tasks, or capable of doing useful tasks. He says it couldn't do the things that humans could do. So basically, they're trying to build this first bot that will be ready to do all of the things that they're ultimately going to, all phase 1, 2, 3, 4, that the bot itself, the hardware, the actuators, the motors, everything else, the balance, the ability to respond to things, all of that will already be built into the first bot. Does that mean that they won't upgrade it later, or they'll find things out that they didn't know? Of course they will. But right now they will be testing the bot for all kinds of circumstances in terms of mechanical aspects that they want to make sure that they have figured out before they start production. So he goes on to say, but we are, in designing these actuators, designing them for volume production. Right now, they're designing the actuators for volume production. So they're not just lighter, tighter, and more capable than any other actuators wherever that exist in the world, but it's also actually manufacturable. They're also manufacturable. So we should be able to make them in volume. Well, the should be, that didn't even sound like Elon. I mean, he doesn't mean should be. No, they're intending, what he's saying is they're designing them for production. How they do everything at Tesla, they design for production. So then he goes on, he says, the first Optimus, that will have all of the Tesla designed actuators, sort of a production candidate actuators integrated and walking, should be around November-ish. See, it's July, August, September, October, November. Less than 4 months from now, they're going to have a finished Optimus robot that will have all of the actuators designed, in place, in testing, and hard call from here whether that also means that some of those will already be tooled up and ready to go, because then he says this. He says, then we'll start ramping up after that. So ramping up. The best I could get from that, I'd love to be able to ask the question. The best I can get from that is they will start ramping up the production of the actuators, the production of the motors, because I think they're going to build all the motors in-house, or at least some of them. They'll start ramping up all the parts and pieces that go along with the Optimus. What does that ramping up look like? My guess is that we'll be looking at some kinds of hundreds or thousands of units being produced by the week or by the month, a very substantial number, not the millions, but hundreds at least at this point, testing the equipment, testing the line, making decisions, because they've also hired this guy to to set up the line, okay, and to start hiring the people. So we've all been making guesses on that. We're thinking that from the time that hire is made, you're looking at the most 18 months before you would full out go to production. Could be longer, but that seems to be a good guess from folks like Scott and anyway, a couple of other folks that we've had on the channel. But I think we'll be able to have it doing something useful in our factory sometime next year. I would be, yes, I'm pretty confident of that. So yes, it's going well. So this kind of use in the factory that we're talking about is the production model with the production tooling, making Teslas in quantity will be able to do useful tasks. That's a lot different than the lab version right now, being able to do useful tasks. This will be, we've built the final version in November. We start production in volume, in some kind of volume, light, small volume at first, and we start building these, and we start taking them next year at some point. We start putting, it could be January, it could be February. We start putting these in the factory, hundreds of them, maybe more, going out, and we start training them to do useful tasks. All right. So that was what he had to say about that. He goes on to talk about using them as prosthetics attached to the Neuralink. I think that's extremely exciting, but for another day. All right. So what did I miss? Everything to me says that they're going to be in production next year, some kind of light production, maybe 100 a week or 1,000 a month or something. I don't know. They'll keep ramping production as fast as they can see that the bots are doing fine. Obviously, there could be problems. They can run into things. They can shut down the line, start up the line, but it's not complicated. It is not like batteries. It's not like cars. It's not like semi-trucks. They don't have to go 60 miles an hour. They don't have to be concerned about running into dogs and kitty cats. So it's going to be way easier to set this line up, way easier to make these parts. So I think they'll start making them, putting them in the factory. To the extent that they are working out, they'll be able to up production, and it will be nothing to up production. This is not something where the ramp is going to take years and years to be able to make. If you can make 1,000 a week, you can maybe make 10,000 a week. Maybe you do need a second line or a third line. Maybe they're made in cells. However that works, we're not talking about years to get this thing up to volume. So I'm saying that the million run rate, I continue to say this, the million run rate is the end of 2024. I've changed that. I said I thought they would make 1 million in 2024. I'm going to be a little more conservative and say that by the end of 2024, they'll be making 80,000, 100,000 a month. All right. And that is going to be absolutely incredible. So now I need to know, please, in your comments, I know you think I'm out of my mind optimistic, but tell me where I'm wrong. That's what I've been asking now since last, I think I started reporting on this in December. I started talking about the opportunity. It's talked about in the Elon Musk mission. We talked about it in there. I made my predictions in there. What am I getting wrong? I keep asking people, okay, show me specifically what can't be done in that time period. So give me specifics. Tell me where I got it wrong. Tell me what questions you have, where maybe you think I've got it right, but you still have questions about something I said that needs to be clarified. So as important as Optimus is, please make sure that you listen to every video that I did from Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. It was Larry Goldberg on Friday night. It was Brian Wang on Saturday morning. It was Brian White on Saturday afternoon. I will put all three cards up above. They may not be in that order, but all three cards will be above. They will also be noted in the information below, so that you can go to the URL and go there. If you haven't watched those 3 videos, these are almost as important as what I just told you about Optimus, and they're more current, they're more immediate, they're more like next week or next month as opposed to next year. Even Optimus being next year, and no valuation given to it by the street. Does that blow your mind? Tell me. Are you able to understand why they wouldn't even count it as some kind of an option benefit? I mean, isn't it worth $100 a share that there might be $100 billion of earnings in 2 years or 3 years or even 4 years? I can't get it. So please take a look at those 3 videos. Please hit like if you thought that this video was worthwhile and useful. Please hit subscribe if you think now is finally the time when you subscribe to my channel. You want to hit notify because, later tonight I will have my normal Monday morning show where I talk about everything that's going to happen next week, how to think about it, what we should be looking for in terms of how we might be in and out of different trades if you are a trader. Obviously, if you're a long-term Tesla investor and all in, it doesn't matter that much, except we all like to watch it, don't we? It's just kind of fun to see the stock go up and up. And yeah, it's not so much fun when it goes down. But what will happen next week? I will be talking about that a little tonight. I'll talk about it more tomorrow morning. And then, of course, during the week, I'll make additional calls as necessary. And then finally, Patreon. I now have made an energy analysis from now to the end of the decade. I've done a semi-truck analysis from now to the end of the decade. I have done I haven't done robotaxi because I really don't know where to start on that one. I have done 2023 and 2024 in terms of earnings to the rest of the year. And one more that I'm forgetting. Energy storage. Did I say that? Robots. That's what it was. Optimus to the end of the decade. So take a look at those. They are on, they're up right now on Patreon. They're exclusively up on Patreon. Now, I will do videos about all of those over the next 2 weeks, as I can work them in, because right now there's so much content that's even more important than those right now, but I'll work them in over the next couple of weeks. But if you'd like to see them now, then just hit the Patreon thing. You get 7 days free. And then after that, it's $5 a month if you decide to hang out and see what else I might throw up there from time to time. Anyway, I think that's all I got for you right now. It has been great talking to you.